that time of year again, tree tapping season. Is anyone waking up in there? Yep, there's definitely movement afoot. Something is happening. Something is rising. Something is powerfully rising up. Waking up to the spring is just round the corner. So, to tap or not to tap? That is the question. Can you spot it? I must say from here it's quite difficult. Let's have a closer look. See it now? There. There it is, brimming with the vitality of wild water, risen and transformed as it's passed through the sycamore. Just so happens there's a glass in this woodland, just when you need one. Cheers, sycamore. Thank you. And this year, I'm going to find other ways to thank you as well. Cheers. Wow, that's so good. I'm going to have some more. And if you'd like to learn more about tapping trees, if you look in my bio, there's a really long article on tapping mainly birch, but also sycamore. And in this short bit of video, I'll show you what I've been doing over the last week. As well as doing my branch sap collection method with these sycamores, I've also done a very little bit of more traditional trunk tapping, and it's very interesting for me because I haven't done that for quite a number of years, and certainly with the birches I haven't done it for many years. And you might think it's a fanciful notion, but I do check in with the trees. I kind of ask the trees. I started doing this with the birches quite a long time ago, and I really got a magnetic, like two opposite poles of a magnet pushing against each other, a magnetic push away when I kind of put my arms around the tree and kind of try to tune in, check into, you know, whilst asking this question, is it okay to kind of tap you in the trunk there? So yeah, definite no from the birches, which is why I kind of favour the branch technique. But with these sycamores, yeah, I did the same thing this year. And what's interesting about it is like these kind of practices where you're kind of trying to tune in and really kind of figure out or sense, feel into what might be appropriate or not in terms of working with kind of wild foods and kind of natural world. It's like sometimes just because you want to do something, for example tapping into the tree, you can override what you're kind of picking up. It's actually very easy to override it. But the good thing is, as easy it is to override, is the fact that you know you're overriding it. So keep it simple. Check in, see what kind of comes back, and yeah, I think for me with the sycamores, it's more of a kind of, you know, it's not a screaming yes or no, it's more of a kind of neutral kind of feeling, which is actually, that's the point where it becomes harder to know whether your capacity to just kind of tune in hasn't kind of really, you haven't really engaged it well, or yeah, you are overriding. It's much easier to know what's going on if you get a kind of clear kind of sense. But anyway, we're going to block up that hole with a bung, which I'm just going to make. I found this old kind of burnt spoon that you can see I've been sawing off. It's just the perfect diameter to make nice little wooden bungs. One. That's another one. I'll just taper off the end a little bit. Just so it's easier to hammer into the trunk. I'm going to cause more damage around the hole. Don't need to do it too much because it's pretty much the right diameter anyway. Hammer to the ready, and hopefully that should be a nice tight fit, ending up flush to the hole. We'll see. I might have to trim it down. It's pretty good, to be honest. I'm here, I'll mention another thing, because I've just seen what I've been looking for the last half hour, washed up with the fallen leaves that have been pushed down by the water from this stream, and that is something I normally see around the time of the birch sap rise, which is really the end of February, kind of mid-March, and that is the germinating seeds of the sycamore. And the reason I've been looking out for them is because I thought this year, to counter that kind of tendency that can happen with foraging, is just to take and not really give anything back. Something I really kind of challenge myself with all the time is, for all the sycamores that I've tapped this year, I'm going to find one of these germinating little plants, and then I'm going to put them in a pot, and I'm going to kind of bring them on till they're kind of healthy, and then plant them out. You might think, well, why not just kind of leave them and let that happen? Well, where I am, they will just be eaten by deer. So, you know, there's more than enough food around for the deer to eat here. So that's what I'm going to do. And seeing as that one's showing signs, I think I'll just forage around in the leaf litter and see if I can find a few more. I actually need to find 7. I find another 6 to make the 7, but I did find a whole load of the seeds. So there we are. I shall plant them, let them grow, And I may put them in this wood with a tree guard or somewhere similar but with less deer, or at least where a deer is not likely to eat them. Yeah, establishing the children of the trees that you've tapped. I love that idea. One of the biggest challenges when you've got quite a lot of tree sap, in this case sycamore, is it takes a lot of energy to boil it all down. Got 21 litres here, collected last night, and my options were to do it on the gas hob in my house share and use up way more than my fair share of gas. Do it on an electric ring and use a lot of electricity. Or my preferred option, is certainly going to take some time, especially as it keeps raining and this wood was really damp, is to boil it all down. Actually, I don't want to waste any precious drop here. Is to boil it all down on a fire. So this is my setup. It's going to be pretty heavy. There's my setup. Collapsing bricks. You know what they say, lay the foundations well first. Everything else that follows will potentially go well. So let's start again. I'm going to do everything well this time. Good position. Don't do your back in. Ugh. There we are. I think I'll get a lid for that as well. So that'll help bring it to the boil, and as soon as it's coming to the boil, then I'll just keep feeding the fire. And it'd be interesting to see how long it takes to reduce these 21 litres down to, well, what would be a ratio of 60:1 is what I'm after with this sycamore sap, to get a nice strong maple like consistency and flavour. So let's see. Collected and worked with tree saps before, or even if you have, you'll certainly find lots of detailed instructions on how to get the best out of this particular practice. If you look at the link to an article I wrote, you'll find it in my bio. And yeah, kind of tell you what to expect from the process. So kind of dive on in and expect the unexpected. So the final thing I've done, and it's, to be honest, not strictly necessary, but I did a bit of freeze distillation, or at least started the process. So what you see here is 65 litres reduced down to whatever that is. It's a couple of litres. And yeah, I'll talk you through what we're going to do next and why. I'm going to tip it out on here and we'll just let it drip through. And the point of it looks like some syrupy sponge pudding, doesn't it? But the point of that is that what will happen is really concentrated flavoursome syrup will drip through first, and then we should have some more or less pure water left afterwards. So essentially it's concentrating the syrup but without boiling. So with the sycamore, it's not so important because of the ratios of sugars. Doesn't mean that it's going to caramelize over excessively when you're cooking it. But if you were doing when you're reducing it down, but if you were doing this with birch, removing water by boiling, it is good to switch to freeze distillation towards the end to avoid over caramelizing if you want a more kind of maple-like flavor. So there we are. It's finally time to see how much of this pure liquid amber I've got this year. So that's 1 litre there. Probably about 1.5 litres. So actually that final freeze distillation turned out to be pretty much pointless. Had it been with birch, then there would have been kind of fascinating cage of almost pure ice left behind. But in this case, it all dripped through and just left a little bit of scum on the surface of the mesh. So a great success this year. And yeah, check out the article I wrote. Here's a few pictures from it. And if you want to understand what they're all about, then there's lots of information in the text. As I said, in the whole article is in my bio.
The back of the winter has broken, and light lingers long by the door, and the seeds of the summer have spoken in gowans that bloom on the shore. By night and by day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning away, and we follow the heron home. In darkness we cradled our sorrows and stoked all our fires with fear. Now these bones that lie empty and hollow are ready for gladness to cheer. By night and by day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning away, and we follow the heron home.